Wednesday, 4th of August 2021, and the year continues to whiz by. So here I am today at, where am I? Good God, I can't even remember where I am. Rushden, that's it. I'm in Rushden, East Hertfordshire, about to undertake a North Arts Ramblers walk of around 10 miles to initially Sandon for lunch, then past Wallington and back here. Chosen today, Wednesday, because the weather is better today than the rest of the week. Despite those clouds up there, they're not rain loaded today. Not till tonight anyway. We've got a warm temperature of about 20 degrees C and a very gentle southeasterly wind. Well, it's hardly a wind, it's a breeze. So look forward to this one today. Bit of jet noise I've noticed already from Stansted. I've noticed that picking up over recent weeks as well. But otherwise, look forward to this walk, as I say. Let's press on, see what awaits us. Hopefully I'll get an image of a combine today. I've seen lots of fields cut, but I haven't actually seen one of the machines in operation. Do like to see that. I now know that this is St Mary's, which I didn't know a minute ago. And I think we've filmed this walk, this church before on other walks. There might be a touch of duplication today, simply because that's what happens, I'm afraid. In a small area like I'm currently filming, you get duplication. But hey ho, good to see it from different angles and at different times of the year, etc. Now, straight from the church, there's a gate leading into a footpath and onwards to our GPX track. The track actually goes up the quiet country lane, but I'm parked in the church car park, which doubles up as the village hall car park, which is handy. And this path that I'm about to take, although not on the track, will link us up with it. And I don't like the sound of that. Was hoping this would be predominantly cereal country today, but let's see what pans out. Well, hopefully that's the extent of the livestock. Those llamas over there. I think they're llamas as opposed to alpacas. Forget which one's smaller. Anyway, no cattle, that's the main thing. Good to see on my left, nice new birch plantation. Now the GPX track brings you up this boardwalked path from the lane to a finger post here. Then our onward journey is straight on ahead. So I'm now back on the track, literally. And this indicates it could be a bit damp during the winter months. And the boardwalk is damaged in places, so that should certainly go on path watch. Take this footpath indicated by the finger post there towards that sort of turquoise building, cottage, past a pond on my left hopefully, as indicated by that willow. Indeed so. First bit of cattle of the day, and he's a solitary Highland cattle, so no problem with him. The owner was out actually giving him some feed. So having circumnavigated the farmyard there, we're now out into open country, and hopefully the path following will be easier. Not cut here yet. No entry into Bachelor's Wood there. Our onward journey, I believe, is right here. Very pleasant field edge walking at the moment, with a very broad margin for wildlife. Excellent. So there we have another victim of dieback. Looks like we do a left here. Well, in fact, no, don't take the obvious path ahead there, but we do turn right for a short distance. Then you reach this finger post for Beckfield Farm, 1 mile hence. Follow that. Another wonderful area of scrub. And that woodland ahead of me looks predominantly ash, which is bad news for the future. And we now have a section of cool walking in said woodland, which looks like it's a bluebell wood in season. These woodland fringes are packed with wildlife. Butterflies, peacocks, that's the butterfly, various species of brown butterfly, speckled wood amongst them, I should imagine. Just goes to show, doesn't it, where nature-friendly farming practices occur, nature booms. Now back into woodland, and of course, now in August, not much bird song. That's either a solitary chaffinch, possibly a nuthatch, but I'd say the former. I didn't mention that I'm walking this in an anti-clock direction for logistics, but it's also worked out quite well because of the sort of midday sun effect. Good decent level of cool air in here. That TV mast is the one we walked past a few weeks ago, or possibly months now, at Reed, I would guess. One of the higher points around here. Even today we reach a lofty height of around 525 and never lower than the mid 300s. So as I've said before, it's quite high around here, but you don't really notice it underfoot. It's not taxingly high. I recognise that signage from previously, so maybe at this juncture, yeah, I went off over there. So we're now doing some duplication of a previous walk. Don't ask me which one though. I went off over that common. Just passing Beckfield Farm. And we're now on a section of the Hertfordshire chain walk. Looks like an old Fordson, I believe. Now leave the lane, as indicated by this finger post, and continue on the chain walk. I do believe there should be more notices like this. You know, the current, as I've said before, the current countryside code is far too wishy-washy, and you know, people are just going to ignore it like they do those silly speed cameras that have got smiley faces on. Thanks Ian for identifying that as bindweed last time. Bindweed I know of is only white, but clearly there's obviously many species of it. The old hazelnuts there, starting to come out. Another month or two and they'll be picked. Well, they won't be picked, but they'll be mature. Yeah. Luckily my onward journey is completely the opposite direction. Now people ask about this cattle thing, but I saw on the news last night that the NFU are proposing to request that all dog walkers have their dogs on a lead when in fields with animals in them, and quite rightly so, because some of the scenes I saw on the news last night were shocking, as I'm sure you've seen in the past. You know, dogs disturbing cattle, aggravating them, making them more aggressive for people that don't like them anyway, and sheep, bloody faces, ripped up. It's just ridiculous. I mean, this has all been happening since, well, more recently, during COVID times, so I don't need to say any more about that. But again, coming back to the countryside code, there's just not enough enforcement, and people don't even know that the countryside code exists. So I totally agree with the farmers there. If I was a farmer, I'd shoot the dog. Absolutely shoot the dogs that are disturbing my animals. Now interestingly, we turn right here across this field, heading back towards where I was a moment ago with the cattle. So hopefully my words won't come back to bite me. Bit of a vista as I walk on through this cornfield, wheat actually. Per that finger post, we do a right here. As I say, heading back towards that cattle field. Well, that was interesting. I've just bumped into a young lady who was a bushcrafter, collecting hazel and nettle stems. Good on her. Knows her onions, if you excuse the expression. Well, that sound I heard earlier that I thought was either a chaffinch or a nuthatch clearly isn't, because I've just heard the sound again, and it seems to be attached to some kind of warbler. It's calling to another one. That's very interesting. I have to check that out. Well, isn't that sod's law? My onward journey is through this field of cattle. Unbelievable. Okay, managed to circumnavigate that mother and 3 calves. I think that's all there is in here. But maybe I should offer my services for this job. Get myself familiar with them. Anyway, I think this is the onward journey. Hope so. No, that exit over there was the wrong one. And I do recall having walked this previously. This bit, so I'm going to take this exit, which seems to tie in with the track, and see where we end up. So, having left Beckfield Lane behind us and its cattle, don't do a left here, but head on up this way, right. That public footpath number 18 tells me that I got that wrong, but you do actually go up that lane that I just said don't go up on the left. We're on the edge of Green End here, as you can see, so that's the way you don't go. I've just had a motorhome try to squeeze past me down this lane, and looking at the map, the footpath that runs alongside the edge of Titchney Wood would have been a better option to take from the cattle field, because that brings you out further up this lane than walking the whole lane. So that might be worth noting. The footpath I was describing, running past Titchney Wood, comes out here through this hole in the hedge and is very close to the top of this road, which is a 60-mile-an-hour road or lane. Footpath 17 it is, and this is the terrain you'd be crossing. A ploughed field, Maybe that put the walk author off, I don't know. But it seems a bit more sensible to me. It's not that much of a trudge across there. In fact, there is the opposite finger post over there. So as you can see, we now join Park Lane, public byway 44, Icknield Way and Hertfordshire Way. And what's this about works? Well, it's dated the 10th of May for up to 6 months, and actually includes Park Lane. But it looks to me from this new surface that the works may have already been done. So let's keep fingers crossed. Looks like the builders have left their rubbish behind. Not sure I totally support this. It costs a lot of money to do this, and for what purpose? As you can see, the horses are already churning it up, so it won't last that long. It just it's, you know, aesthetic, and it's for tidiness purposes, which for the money concerned, I don't think it justifies that. Money should be better spent on keeping the path network open. All this is going to do is encourage people with 4x4s to come up it, which they're entitled to do. Whereas when it's got deep ruts in, it does give them second thoughts. So, come out of Park Lane for a bit of duplicate walking back to Sandon Church now. In reverse this is, to the Sandon walk I did right back at the beginning of unlocking last year. May, I think it was. What an amazing coloured beetle that is. I have to check that out when I get back. A bit like a four-spotted giant ladybird. So by the village sign, we follow the Hertfordshire Way and the Icknield Way. Now if I can't find a seat anywhere else, there's one next to that freshly dug grave. Just what you need while you're eating your lunch, eh? Souls. Plenty of them wandering around here. In fact, this one here on my left, probably a better bet at the minute. Don't want to disturb that freshly buried body. So here we are, Sandon. Can't remember the name of the church, but we'll get it on the way out. And this is, as I said earlier, where I did my first post-lockdown walk last year. So familiar terrain henceforth, I think. It's 2:45 or thereabouts. Lunch is about to be served. Courtesy of Jackie Tufnell of Orwell Farm. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. Seems an appropriate expression for walkers. Thank you, Jackie. So around 3:20 now, lunch has been had, and here is the church, name still unknown, at Sandon. We're stood about 550 foot high here, so pretty much the high point of the walk. Note the extension to the rear. Quite an interesting entrance there, even though the main entrance is round the side. And I now know it's an All Saints. Should have remembered that from last year really, but such is my memory these days. The old village sign. interesting date there of 1086. Village green here. Passing what appears to be a fairly new village hall. A couple of seats nearby as well, I see. Take footpath 47 here, which is very tight and narrow, just in front of the school. Now again, the GPX track goes off there, right up that hedge line, and then crosses that field up yonder, then comes out onto a lane. Well, I know that that white post over there also brings us out onto that lane, so I'm going to go that way. One last look back at Sandon, and in fact I didn't deviate off the GPX track. I followed it and I've ended up here next to another white post, so we're still following the GPX track here. Now for some reason the GPX track takes you right here back onto the lane for some more lane walking, whereas if you stick with this field edge and then turn right over there by that white marker post, you'll end up at the same point without doing the road walking. So that's what I intend to do. GPX creator, take note. Take a right here towards Safefield Cottages on the map, and I mean, it could be that the GPX track was done so long ago that these paths weren't even here, because they do utilise set aside margins, and of course if these GPX tracks are that old, and some of them are, you know, as I say, these options might not have existed. So you would come down that lane there, which is quite busy, opposite this farm shop here, and I believe our onward journey now is FP13 over there. So this is the way I've done it is much less traffic influenced and better, I reckon. We're now headed towards Friar's Wood, which I was in earlier, but we don't actually go into it this time. Farmer's going to have a problem here. Most of this wheat crop is still infiltrated by oats from possibly last year's growth. Don't know what they do in instances like that. Animal feed? Unsure. So straight ahead takes you to Friar's Wood, as I say, where we were earlier, but our onward journey now is right here. And more field edge walking. Still around 500 foot here, surprisingly, because obviously you can't see the horizon to gauge how high up you are. And this part of the walk is duplication from where I was earlier by the pig farm. So this section must have been a Sandon Circular last year. Can't remember what other walk I would have done around here. So last time I went off that way, this time do a right here through some wonderful wild flower meadow here. Thistles and ragwort. Now reached Roe Green, ROE. So just next to the property called Longmeadow, continue on the Hertfordshire Way over that little footbridge there. We're also back on the Icknield Way, I should add. Now aiming for the hamlet of Redhill. Love these wild fields, fallow, full of thistles, ragwort and other wild plants. Great for the wildlife. Get a little bit of the height impression here, about 400 foot now. As you can hear in the background, another jet, so there's a lot more holiday traffic around, it seems, even though that issue hasn't been sorted out yet properly. All these wheat fields are fine in the summer, but any other time of the year they've got to be crossed. Bit of a trudge, eh? Lovely field of clover here. And I think last time I was at this point, I walked that path alongside that tree line. But today, I do believe we're going to turn right in a minute. Because I remember this particular vista. And there was a combine over in the distance there, cutting. So whatever walk I was on was around this time. Wonderful. And we've got an equally good day today, but minus the combine. Interesting. Hardly seen any corn being cut around this area today. Yeah, it's all, as I said last week, it's all cut and baled and ploughed up down my way. 10-15 mile down the road. Yeah, just as last year. There are some bullocks in this field. Let's see if I can get through without disturbing them in this heat. Here's the well again. Can't remember the story behind this, but if you look up Wallington well, you'll be able to find out all about it. Seems to have been filled up with more water than last time I was here. We did have a wet winter. Here's the church again at Wallington, with its associations with George Orwell. He wrote Animal Farm near here. And there's the seat I had my lunch on last year. So this is St Mary's Church, Wallington. And as you can see, another church with an extension, new extension to the rear. Lots of lead thefts in the region recently. It's outrageous. And one church near here, which I have filmed in the past, a Friends of the Friendless Churches church, down at Caldicot, C-A-L-D-E-C-O-T-E, Caldicot, near Baldock. They've just spent £150,000 refurbishing that church, which is out on a limb, and a couple of days after reopening it, some vandals broke in and ruined the place. Absolutely ruined it. Fire extinguishers sprayed everywhere, lead glass broken. Outrageous behaviour. Took them about 15 months to refurbish it, I think. But it's just ridiculous. Luckily they're on the other side of the fence. Don't seem to be too bothered by the heat, although they're all drinking. More lovely byways. That's the beauty of East Herts walking. It's either field margins or byways. Lovely, gets you right out into the countryside. Quite amazing really. It looks like they've left that wheat field from last year, and it's just become a field of thistles. and even sunflowers in places, reflecting previous crops no doubt. But it really is a sight for sore eyes. Wonderful. Plenty of bay willow herb about as well. Once again, thanks to Ian for that recognition. I haven't seen any boulace today to thank Julie for. These old byways form the kind of motorways that I often talk about, that create communication channels for the various forms of wildlife. They need these massively. And I saw on the news the other night that Essex are building, in the process of building one from one side of Essex to the coast. Lots of woodlands joining them up, and that will form the kind of communication channel that wildlife needs, hopefully. It's good to see. And there's an interesting lilac flower. Don't think I've recorded that recently, unless I've forgotten. Wonderful. Walking through Coles Wood here, and on my right apparently is a nature reserve. This has been a wonderful section of walking thus far. Well, the whole walk has, to be honest. Very good. Whoever's put this new fence up here needs to put some trees, a hedge, along this side of it. Otherwise there's nothing to absorb this water that's creating, even in the middle of summer. Mud baths here. Take a right here now towards those cottages. This is duplication of a previous walk. We're now on Shore Green Lane. So on a previous walk I went right there, as I'm walking now, past some lake on my left up there. But today we're continuing on straight ahead through the tree tunnel. So this tree tunnel will take you past Munch's Wood shortly, but we come off here at this finger post or marker post. Not far to go now. Now I say unfortunately because this is the sort of walk that you don't want to end really. Wonderful. Shame it's only 10 mile. Now for some reason the GPX takes you down this way, left, into Rushden. But that's quite a busy road at this time of night, rush hour. So I'm going to go up that way to Rushden, which is the only traffic you'll encounter is Rushden traffic. It's a dead end as you can see. And I think that'll be a better option. Let's see. Lots of thatch in this village, reflecting local materials from times gone by. So here we are, 4 hours, 8 minutes later, just under 10 mile. So that was a very nice walk. I do like this area, albeit that since I last walked it, as you can hear in the background now, the jet noise is increasing into Stansted. So it just shows how lucky we've been really under COVID conditions prior. You know, the reality is that all this jet noise is going to return sooner or later. And I've noticed a massive increase today really. It's such a shame. Anyway, as I say, that was a delightful walk. Lots of field margins and tree tunnels. Lots of variety really, and a proper country walk really. As I say, this area you never get the sense that you're near anywhere urban. That's why I like it. So, North Arts Ramblers group walk, I think that's 256 completed. Until the next time.